Hello kids, it's Pastor Rick. Glad to see you again. I was wondering, do any of you ever like to look up in the sky and look at things? I like to do that sometimes. But there's a lot of things we can see in the sky. We see birds, we see planes, and at night we see stars. One day, a long, long time ago, after Jesus had risen from the dead on Easter, Jesus had spent 40 days with the disciples. But then on the 40th day, Jesus and the disciples, they were out walking on top of a mountain called the Mount of Olives. And it was at that point, that moment in time, where Jesus returned to heaven. He was just standing there with the disciples, and then all of a sudden, Jesus began to go back up into heaven, into a cloud. And the disciples, they didn't have binoculars back then, but I'm thinking if they did, they probably would have been looking something like this, way up into the sky, saying bye to Jesus. Well, at some point, after a few minutes had gone by, two angels appeared and asked the disciples, "Why do you still look up in the air, just gawking?" And they said, Jesus is going to come back in the same way you just saw him go into heaven. Jesus is going to come back to earth in the same way. So what the angels were telling them was that, yes, Jesus has gone into the sky. Jesus will come back the same way. In between, until Jesus comes back, we see Jesus out in the world, down on the ground, around where you live, where I live, around our church, around our school, where we go on vacation, even in sad places like the hospital or at your parents' work maybe. Wherever you go, there is Jesus doing work in the world, caring for people, loving people, forgiving people. So while Jesus is in heaven, we still see Jesus working right here in Sandy Run and Swansea and everywhere else in the world. We don't necessarily have to look up in the sky to see Jesus. We see Jesus working right here every single day, and that is wonderful news. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this time, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. You have a wonderful Memorial Day, and we'll see each other soon. Bye, and God bless. And remember, God loves you, and so do I.